to chew bubble gum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubble.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network, where I am broadcasting 2 miles east of the veritable Bill Mill, the locus of evil on the entire left coast, the Capitol building at 10th and L, where late at night after I'm done and I leave through that open door right now because it's kind of warm in the studio, I can smell the noxious stench of sulfur and brimstone from said evil. Tonight, you got a belly up to the bar. We've kept your seat, and it's great to see you back. Tashay is going to be your bartendress tonight. She pours with the best of them, and the lava lamp is in fact on right here, indicating that you can listen and chat at shrmedia.com. We got 4 people in the chat room already. Welcome to Mike, welcome to Simone, and welcome to one viewer. Come one, come all. You can also watch the show on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. I gotta tell you one thing. We don't water our drinks just like we don't water our conversation. Politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all right here at the Saloon. Nothing is sacred. The speech is free, but the booze is not. All that we ask is that you flush the toilet, jiggle the handle, and don't forget to tip your waitress. Tonight, we have Kurt Schlichter in the Saloon.
Hello.
Kurt Schlichter, good evening to you, sir. It is a pleasure to have you here on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we are honored to have a mind-altering conservative gracious enough to return to the Saloon tonight, a man who needs no introduction, so I'm going to charge right on with a rather lengthy one, just in case you don't know who he is, and I bet most of you do. My guest tonight is the incredibly perspicacious Kurt Schlichter. He's an author, he's a veteran, he's an attorney, a commentator, and a senior columnist for townhall.com. So those who listen to the show know that I read frequently from Kurt Schlichter's columns because he provides insight like nobody else does in quite such a fashion. And so the hashtag that he created, hashtag caring, is not exactly quite that. Kurt Schlichter tends to push the boundaries of kindness, reticence, honesty, and stark brilliance, which is why you need to read him. He says and writes things some only dare to breathe these days in their minds. And he, like me, is not a massive fan of the GOP establishhacks like the lovely and sumptuous George Will, Bill Kristol, John Kasich, who has a new contract with CNN, goody for him, George Bush, Mitt Romney, Jeff Flake. Oh, Jeff Flakey, I think, is going to CBS, I heard today. And the now defunct John McCain. I should care to point out that there is absolutely no...
When the show was going to be tonight. Bloviating Zeppelin.
Yeah, and she's... Who is the Bloviating Zeppelin? So I got to tell you, there's absolutely no schadenfreude involved when I point out, of course, that the Weekly Standard is now done. The brilliant thing is that Kurt Schlichter's default PC meter then is set to bullshit. And I would be remiss if I didn't tell everybody that Kurt Schlichter is a retired U.S. Army colonel. He's an attorney with Schlichter and Shonak, LLP. He's a prolific writer and an author. I count 9 books now in Kurt Schlichter's stable, and one of the primary reasons that he's here tonight. He's had a bunch of stuff published in the LA Times, New York Post, LA Daily Journal, San Francisco Examiner, Business Insider, Loyola Law Review, just to name a paltry few of them. And he's been a recurring guest on Fox News, Business News, Jesse Waters, Headline News, CNN. Well, maybe not quite so much on CNN anymore. And that terrible shock jock, Hugh Hewitt. Seriously, people called Hugh Hewitt a shock jock. So, Kurt, I didn't start reading your stuff until late 2017. And when I began reading your articles, that led to your books. And I got to tell you, I was absolutely hooked. I forgot one other thing. I forgot one other very important thing. I know. We'll get to you, I swear to Christ.
Okay, you keep talking. I'm going to the bathroom. So here's how this went down. Here's how it went down, dude. Okay, no, this is serious. Earlier today, I'm talking to our mutual friend, Matt Bentley, right?
Okay, right.
And he goes, and we're talking, and I go, I got to go. My tri-tip's cooking. I got to go. And he goes, say hi to BZ for me. And I'm like, what? Okay. And earlier today, I had thought, I saw your thing on Twitter. And I'm like, God, I was going to do that show. And I guess we must have misconnected. And I was like, I got to send him an email or a text or something, figure out when the show is. I don't want to miss it. So a little later, I'm on Twitter, as I do every once in a while, and our friend Jeff Dunnett goes, say hi to BZ for me. I'm like, what the fuck? What does everybody know? And I'm like, I don't even know. So I'm sitting here, right? It's like 8 o'clock, and I'm like, I think I better get up and go hit the John. Suddenly a phone rings. No caller ID. I'm like, what? I get on. You start talking. I'm like, holy shit. I'm on a fucking show. And I got to pee. All right. So you talk for another 30 seconds. I'm going to put the mute on.
Okay. All right.
And I'm hauling ass into the bathroom.
Very important so that we don't hear the reverberation from the walls.
You don't want any part of that.
Okay. You're right. Absolutely. But it's funny.
All right. So keep bloviating.
That's my job. Okay. So while he's doing something very important, I got to say that additionally, Kurt Schlichter, he was an infantry and cavalry officer in the U.S. Army, in the California Army National Guard. He's a veteran of Operation Desert Storm and an Operation Enduring Freedom. He was there during that in Kosovo. So when Kurt talks about the military, it's not from an armchair. He was there. He was a colonel in the military and acquired his master's, by the way, in strategic studies at the United States Army War College. So, as I've said before, he is the real deal. Also an attorney. He took his J.D., his Juris Doctorate, at the Loyola Law School. And some other nice people in the law world said this about Kurt Schlichter.
All right, I'm back. Now, Kurt Schlichter is back. Now urine-free.
Oh, fabulous.
Largely.
Fabulous.
Just be glad it wasn't number 2.
Right. Okay, so anyway, folks, I'd like to reintroduce Kurt Schlichter to the Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show because we had Kurt Schlichter back in August 24th last year, 2018. So knowing kind of how things work right now, the first question is going to be actually, how's your back doing?
My back is great. It was screwed up doing RDLs. Okay. I was bending over to lift. My form was good. My trainer was shouting the appropriate slogans at me.
Okay.
And
important.
It tweaks. And then I started taking Flexeril and freaking Norco. And my doctor said, you've got to not take Norco. Like I went to the urgent care. He said, don't take Norco. What's wrong with you? Just take the Flexeril.
Yeah.
And it all went away.
Yeah, Flexeril, much, much better. I tweaked my knee, so that's the name of that tune. The second most important question, and actually somebody in chat asked this question, is for the night is, Kurt, how are Bitey and Barky these days?
Funny you should ask that. I was just grabbing little Barky to come nest with me as we talked. He's an outstanding creature. He just bit me, and now he gave me a kiss. I get a lot of mixed messages from this little guy. You know how we got this guy in October?
I think he was a rescue, right?
He was. We're Arena's like on neighborhood watch or whatever the hell that is, and she goes, "Hey, there's this dog, and these people found him 2 streets over, and they're fostering him. And look at his picture." I'm like, "He's a really cute little dog." Let's and these people found him. They couldn't keep him because they just kept him there. So we go meet him at a store. It's not like go to their house or whatever because it's weird. And they're like, they look at us and we're not that seedy. They hand us a scared little black dog. He's scared, but he's not, timid. And we say, look, we'll take care of him for a few days. And turns out his owner put a thing up on like Facebook. They found on Facebook, hey, free dog. Right?
Okay.
And they're like, we found your dog. And he like disappears off social media. Turns out with a little more research, dude was having some problems in his life. So he decides, well, I'll take it to this nice neighborhood and some sucker will end up with it. Well, hi, I'm a sucker. He's an outstanding little creature.
The reason I asked that is because when I was doing the social promotion for this show, I put a picture up there that you had recently of Barky nestled ever so lovingly with you. And just by doing that, just by doing the dog picture, okay, I got tons of people saying the social media equivalent of, oh, and oh, what a great guy that Kurt Schlichter is. And,
I am awesome. That's true. A friend to animals.
Yeah.
My next goal is to get an otter.
Oh, otter? Why not?
Because they make these cool noises. They're like, ah, 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 ah.
Well, everybody.
It's like otter videos.
What do people have? They have. Oh, I know. You could be the very first person in California to have your own comfort otter.
A comfort otter. That's a great idea.
I don't know how well that would go over on Southwest, but it would be.
Oh, Southwest is cool.
It would be unique.
They'd be cool.
Folks, people.
I used to fly. It was funny. I used to fly in uniform. I'm just gonna go on tangents tonight, man.
Why not? Why not?
Why not?
We got a full damn hour to do it. Go ahead.
You know, I was a colonel, though. That's headquarters. I would actually go
Hey, Kurt, if you're walking around on your cell, it's cutting out. Just want to let you know. So if you're walking around in your house or if you're outside or if you're in your car, it has completely cut out now, as a matter of fact. Okay, there we go. And it's done. Let me call back and see if we can pick you up again.
Blind story.
There we go. Much better.
All right.
And
let me finish.
Sure.
So, I would fly their uniform, and after the weekend, I would fly back, in my uniform, and people would start making a fuss over me, and I'm like, you guys, I'm a colonel. I don't do anything. The young kid over there, he's a private. He does work. All right, I sip coffee and take briefings. He does stuff.
That's right.
But I was going to
Boy, I don't know what's happening to your phone, but your phone is dying again. It's not dying, but it's cutting in and out badly.
I hate everything about that. How about now?
Okay, that's better.
All right.
Whatever you did, that was great.
Rocking and rolling.
Okay, keep doing more of that.
All right, I just have to put my knee behind my head. That's okay. It works.
So tonight what I'd like to do is I'd like to talk to you about some of the books that you're published. You're an author, obviously. And I counted them. You have 9 books out now. That ain't bad. And you've got 3... Okay, you're still cutting out a little bit.
I hate everything about that. Tell you what, if you say me here, I'll give you my other number. That's their call. Their place to call.
Okay. All right. I wish I could say that I heard what you just said.
Or I can send it to you. Hey, I can give you my landline.
Okay. If you want to...
You want me to DM that to you?
If you can text it to me... If you can text it to me on Twitter, I'll pick it up there.
And I'll give you a DM until...
Okay, it's still...
We're going to do this.
Yeah, we are going to do this, damn it.
It's like radio.
So,
for the action.
we pick each other up on Twitter. So Kurt Schlichter, if you can send me the number on Twitter,
you got it.
That would be great, and I'll pick it up from there, and then I'll call you right back. Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right. Let's make this happen.
Okay.
There we are. Hold on.
All right.
Okay, almost there.
Okay.
All right. This is action. Everybody's like, wow, this is exciting.
I know. But
there you go.
There we go. I don't feel bad because even the big damn radio shows have problems with people calling in on telephones.
This is natural. This is fun. This is exciting. People are like, this is exciting radio, BZ.
This is riveting radio. Exactly. Okay.
Riveting.
For whatever.
Okay, you got the other one.
Yeah, for whatever.
Got the number.
Okay, for whatever reason, now it's coming in fine.
Okay.
So I don't know what the hell you did, but whatever it was, it's still working.
Well, the kids are probably on YouTube watching, God knows what.
Yeah. Okay.
Taking up bandwidth.
That damn kids. Okay, so your first fiction book was People's Republic, and that was back in September 2016.
You might want to say conservative insurgency was fiction, but I think it was nonfiction in fiction form, if that makes sense.
Okay. All right. The one that I know for a fact that was fiction was People's Republic. And then
yes, People's Republic.
You came out with the second one that was Indian Country in June of 2017. And now you've got a third book out, Wildfire, and that was just published in November of 2018. So I think I'm seeing a yearly pattern here. So we'll get to your newest novel in a moment, but first I'd like to talk about your newest nonfiction book. We're talking about 2 Kurt Schlichter books tonight. And his nonfiction book is Militant Normals, How Regular Americans Are Rebelling Against the Elite to Reclaim Our Democracy. That's a hell of a long title, but it's very apt. And so, because I read your articles, I think I know what it's about, but of course I've read it. But for the uninitiated amongst us, give us a glimpse into Militant Normals. What specifically is a militant normal?
Militant normals are the people who built this country. They feed it, they fuel it, they defend it. They're the regular folks who just want to go through their lives, right? They don't want to run the country. They'll be on city council once in a while or whatever. But they're looking at their family and at their community, and they don't really want to boss anyone else around. Now, the people who do are kind of the elite people, the people who want to run our institutions. And there's nothing wrong with them inherently. There's nothing wrong with being one of those people. The problem is we have a terrible elite right now, an elite that has a demonstrated track record of failure combined with unbelievable arrogance and contempt for regular folks. And that's a bad combination. And, normal people tend to, after a while, get annoyed and toss those people out. And that's what happened with Donald Trump. Donald Trump was a repudiation of a ruling class that has failed to perform its obligation of taking care of the country and taking care of the people in it, and instead was seen accurately as pursuing its own interests and being incompetent about everything else, from Iraq and Afghanistan to the 2008 meltdown to Obamacare. Everything our elite, all these people who thought they were better than us, touched, turned to ashes.
Absolutely. We'll get more into that, too. There are conventions in your writings and in your books that I enjoy the hell out of. There's conventions, and then there's Kurt Schlichter conventions, like FredoCons, and one of my favorites that it just makes me jovial whenever I read it, Felony of Milhouse Von Pantsuit. To let people in on the convention, what's a FredoCon?
FredoCon is my word for the kind of cruise-shilling hat conservative that is absolutely incompetent. The same people who spent decades telling us how they were going to fight liberals and ended up not conserving anything. They're weak, they're stupid, they're fit not to run the crime family, but to pick people up at the airport. I mean, they're just losers, and they will betray you just to get some for themselves. Look at Bill Kristol. I mean, really, what's Bill Kristol done except manage to grift billionaires?
About nothing, really.
About nothing.
Except,
really, well, he's managed to run down the people he said he was on their side. You know, that's something. He gave jobs to the shambling likes of Jim Swift. You know, well, I guess he had to sweep out something. Might as well be the Weekly Standard offices. I mean, look, a lot of these guys are bad writers and bad people, and they're hacks, and they are disloyal. You know, if I'm in a bar, right, and I'm with a buddy, my buddy gets a little too much to drink, and he gets mouthy with somebody, right, and he's kind of in the wrong and being a jerk. But if there's a throwdown fight, I'm stepping in for my buddy. I'm never going to side with the stranger, with the opponent, even if my guy's a little bit wrong. They don't feel that way because their loyalty is not based on conservatism or party. It's based on class. When we went to the same schools, I mean, I consider myself nominally conservative. I'm not like those MAGA hat wearing kids with a smirk.
Well, how dare Donald Trump, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head, disturb the yin and yang of D.C. and what I call the establishment hacks, right?
I can handle things. I'm smart. Not like everybody says. Like dumb, I'm smart, and I want respect.
Yes.
Come on.
Look. Their objection to Donald Trump is that no one will return the frickin' phone calls. I mean, you know, if you get Stephen Hayward, the crappy hack editor of the Weekly Standard before they drove it into the depths of the ocean, the sinking cruise ship, fill my cabins. And that's my cat. That's why I have a little cruise ship emoji. Because that's what they were about. They were about the grip. It was about the scale. Let's fill the cabins with suckers who were going to say, oh, next time we're going to get those Democrats, and then nothing ever happens. All they do is lose like gentlemen. That's the Mitt Romney thing. That bitch could. Do you think that bitch has ever been in a fist fight?
He may have been the recipient of a few scowls now and then, but that's
he may have gotten quite a pinch from one of the other boys, whatever.
Oh, but come on, that was nasty. He had to seek medical treatment. Come on, cut the guy a break if you would, please.
Well, I'm just sick of the conservative sissies. I'm tired of these guys. You know, the Jeff Flakes. Jeff Flake. He's one step away from suiting up in a latex outfit and, you know, getting banged by a strap-on from Nancy Pelosi. There's something graphic.
Yeah, well, that's fairly graphic. But Flake, how aptly named an individual was that?
You freaking piece of shit.
What is it with?
My God!
What is it with people?
He didn't just lie. He lied to his own constituents about who he was, and when it came right down to it, all he represented was Jeff Flake, and not even his own people. You know, I could take somebody who disagrees. Freaking Lindsey Graham. People in South Carolina elect that guy, knowing he's Lindsey Graham. And he's always Lindsey Graham, and he's going to be Lindsey Graham, and he's going to tell it like he thinks it is. And sometimes you're just like, oh my God, I like Lindsey Graham. What the hell is happening? And other times you're like, what are you thinking? But he's Lindsey. I don't get mad at Lindsey Graham.
No.
Because Lindsey Graham's not pretending to be something he is. He's freaking Lindsey Graham.
You can't get mad at Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders will tell you all day.
I get mad at a different reason.
Well, yeah, for a different reason. But at least you know what he is, and he doesn't mind telling you what he is. Yeah, I wouldn't have minded.
He's garbage.
Yeah, I would.
And I don't think he's cute, and I don't think he's funny. He's built on the bones of 100 million dead people. He's a piece of shit. Fuck him. Anyway.
I just wish I value honesty and clarity, and for God's sakes, I just wish that McCain and Flake would have done what they really were and just changed the R to a D.
Well, look. I mean, McCain got up and said, "We've got to build the wall. I'm going to take down Obamacare," and he wouldn't do either.
No,
he was a liar as a senator, and I don't know any easy way to prove it. I mean, he obviously, served in Vietnam and did those things. And then he came back and he lied to his own people. And I don't see how you square that circle. Same thing with George H.W. Bush. Legit war hero. So a lot of good things about him. He's my commander-in-chief when I was in Desert Storm. But he also lied to us. He said, I will not raise your taxes. And then he did, because all his pals in the elite, because the Bushes, or if nothing else, elite, said, well, you know, it's important to do, and it doesn't really matter if you lie to those little people. And he did it. And that's to his disgrace.
Well, and the sad thing is that he was shocked that there were actually any repercussions
he
bear
was stunned.
for
He
something
was like,
like that.
Wait a minute, you're angry with me because I lied to you? Yeah, you piece of crap. Yeah. I mean, it's just, I don't, you know, and let's compare it with Trump's thing. Trump, I'm going to build the wall. Trump's trying to build the wall. It's not like he's saying, well, you suckers, you fell for it, I'm not doing it. No, he's trying to, and people are opposing him, and sometimes you lose fights, and we're losing at the moment. Tomorrow we may well win. So there's a difference. I'm not mad at Trump because he's losing. Or I don't feel betrayed by him because he's losing. Maybe there's tactical things he could have done better. Whatever.
No,
but he's not trying to lose.
It's
but
something.
George H.W. Bush lied in our faces.
It's something entirely different, and you know, people get their nose pushed out of joint when they say one thing and they do something other entirely.
Yeah.
So militant.
Yeah, like normal people get mad at that.
Yeah, what a
and
shock.
I don't think these people understand it.
Yeah. Oh my! You mean that there are actual consequences?
Yeah. Why are all these little bitties, truck drivers and insurance salesmen and school teachers and housewives? They're all mad at me because I'm not doing what I said I'm doing. Well, it just makes no sense to me. They never, it was all a freaking lie. You know, the Republicans were all about lying up to the election. And then afterwards, business as usual, we're back. Woohoo, clinky, clinky with the bourbon glass.
No, that's that kind of stuff just isn't it's not going to play anymore. Donald Trump blew that up completely out of the water.
It's done, and you can tell because they're leaving because it isn't fun anymore. The guys who left, the guys who retired, and the guys who lost their elections in the last cycle in the Republican House were overwhelmingly the Fredo colors. Not all of them. There are a few good guys who got taken out. But it was the weak hearts who left, and the guys who were there are much more focused. They're not perfect. I mean, Kevin McCarthy's soft. But, you know, and the Senate, it's a lot stronger. And I'll tell you this, McConnell annoys me sometimes, but that guy's a street fighter. He doesn't play, and I don't think we've got a better I just don't think I can't think of anybody who'd do a better job overall.
Well, he's certainly doing a hell of a lot better job than Mr. Fake Tan Boehner. We got about one more minute before the bottom of the hour break. Folks, we are talking to Kurt Schlichter. He's an author. He writes a column twice weekly at townhall.com. He's written a new book, a nonfiction book called Militant Normals, and also a fiction book called Wildfire. Your newest article, I'd like to get back into this when we come back after the break. You had a new article that I read, and I'm going to read it in full tonight later on after I get through speaking to you. Your new article at townhall.com is called What Will It Take to Make You Understand and Accept That They Hate You? And so when we come back to talk to Kurt Schlichter, I'm going to ask him two questions immediately, right off the bat. Who are they? And then, of course, why do they hate us? And it's something that Kurt Schlichter has said before, and he's written about it in his new nonfiction book, Militant Normals. Folks, you're listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin right here, live and direct on the SHR Media Network. We're talking to Kurt Schlichter. We're going to be back right after this to talk more books and politics with Kurt Schlichter. Folks, don't go anywhere. Thank you very much.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics,
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
and all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events? All kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On SHRmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. SHRmedia.com. Be there.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you're listening to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here from the SHR Media Studios, 2 miles east of the belly of the veritable damn beast, the locus of evil on the entire left coast, the Bill Mill, the Capitol building at 10th and L, where when I leave tonight, I'll be able to smell the actual noxious stench of sulfur and brimstone issuing from that damn building that happens to be over there. Tonight, we're talking to Kurt Schlichter. Welcome back. He has 2 new books, and one is fiction, one is nonfiction. We're talking about his nonfiction book right now, Militant Normals, and I was referring to the columns twice weekly Kurt Schlichter writes a column. He's a senior commentator at townhall.com. His newest one is, What Will It Take to Make You Understand and Accept That They Hate You? And I had two questions for Kurt Schlichter. One is, who are they? And the second one is, why do they hate us?
Well, it's easy. The they are the leftists, mostly the kind of coastal elitists, a lot of academics, a lot of social justice warrior types. And why do they hate us? Well, there are two reasons. First, we're an obstacle to their power. Second of all, hate is fun. I mean, it's fun. No, I mean, look, I watch what happened with those Covington kids. You know, refrigerator ranger guy starts banging his drum in front of that kid's face. And the liberals had this giant collective orgasm hating on a 15-year-old because he looked at the guy.
And
they had fun. You can't tell me that those guys were not enjoying being caught up in this collective orgasm of vile hatred and contempt. They loved it. It's fun to be part of a mob.
Well, and it's anonymous to be part of a mob. It's vile.
Yeah, and it's easy, and it's cost-free, but we'll see how that works out for some of the bigger names who defame these kids.
Well, the other thing about the Internet that people on both sides haven't figured out yet is the Internet is forever. It's absolutely forever. So let me see if I've got this right, Kurt Schlichter. I want to make sure that I'm interpreting this correctly. One of the things that your book is saying, essentially, is this. We can either surrender our actual sovereignty and our country wholesale, or we can become more militant. There is no in-between on this. Is that correct?
I think you've summed it up very well. Look, if you're not going to defend your freedom, they're going to take it. And an interesting thing is, this is a different kind of tyranny than we've seen before. This isn't a tyranny of a bunch of people with guns coming, you're going to obey me. Yeah, that's classic old-style tyranny. This is a tyranny where they pretty much nag you into submission by, saying, your great-great-grandfather came from, Amsterdam, so there's something wrong with you, and you're a bad person because of it, and you should shut up, or, you have a penis, you can't have an opinion. Because, Handmaid's Tale or some shit. They're attempting to nag us into submission. And, allow my language to get a bit colorful. The proper response to that is go fuck yourself. We need more of that. We need more. You can't, first of all, you can't argue with these people. Facts don't matter.
Absolutely correct.
Yeah, you've been convicted. Look, here's an example that I enjoy, because it is kind of an experiment. This weekend, some idiot on Twitter, a couple idiots, leftists, said, well, Kurt, you didn't, you were part of Operation Enduring Freedom in Kosovo, which is, I said, well, okay, here is a copy of my order, which says Operation Enduring Freedom, Kosovo. Now, I normally don't engage with idiots, but it was kind of an experiment, and I want to make sure everybody knew I wasn't bullshitting anybody. Here is a copy of my order. I'm going to scratch out my social. You can see it. Here it is. No, you made that up.
Oh.
In 30 seconds, I typed an official order.
Right.
Now, I was head of personnel for about 15,000 guys, so I probably could. But I find that unlikely. I find it much more likely I went on my computer, found it, cut and pasted it, and said, here you go. Well, you did. And how do I know you even went? Okay, here is a picture of me literally standing at Camp Bondsteel in Kosovo. No.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not about facts. All right, in law, I can go into a courtroom, right, and I can convince people, and the 12 people here say, yeah, we believe you, or no, we don't. This is not about fact. It doesn't matter. You are not arguing. People say, why do you argue on Twitter? I never argue on Twitter, because you don't argue on Twitter, because arguing is presentation of facts and evidence in order to change somebody's view. It is impossible to do that with leftists because they don't care.
No, that's perfect. On that issue of emotions versus facts, I found this wonderful audio cut that I wanted to play for you tonight. You may have already heard it. I'll do the setup. It's a black guy named David Harris. And David Harris was one of the guys that went to the hashtag walk away because he was tired of the crap that the Democrats have been spewing for decades with regards to, hey, just follow us, black Americans, and we'll make everything all so much better for you. Well, here's David Harris speaking to a little white female shaved head snowflake who makes one of the craziest statements. You'll pick it up when you hear it. And she, in this statement, summarizes, in my opinion, everything that you need to know about snowflakes.
That's an angel's name, isn't it?
Oh, thank you. You look like an angel.
Think about your hat and the way it makes people feel because it incites fear.
Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, David Harris is wearing a red MAGA hat.
And all those around us. Every person is afraid of that hat. I'm afraid of that hat. Keep America great. For so many people, that's racism.
Yeah, but that's because of the mainstream media's narrative that's painted Donald Trump as a racist. I don't agree with the narrative. I'm out here to try to share that that narrative is skewed.
As a human being, you should pay attention to fear and not logic.
Wait, you said pay attention to
Listen to this.
Fear and not logic?
Yes.
I should have paid attention to emotions and not facts?
Yes.
Why would I pay attention to emotions when
that are real in this world?
Facts are facts.
No, emotions are real. Emotions is one removed from spirit. I find that it is hard to trust others.
Okay, I think I've had enough of that.
Wow, I'm trying to pick out just one stupid thing. Look, again, this is a perfect example.
It is.
When you have literally a black guy being called racist by a white chick.
Yeah, by a young white chick.
Because he's wearing a MAGA. It becomes meaningless. I mean, my favorite thing is when because I believe that I believe in immigration, that lawful immigration, and I go, yeah, racist. I'm like, I literally married an immigrant. Doesn't matter.
No.
I was on Twitter with some idiot today. Hard to believe. And we were talking about that guy who says he was, at 2 a.m. the MAGA guys came out in the Arctic cold in Chicago with the bleach and the rope to attack this guy in a subway for yelling MAGA, MAGA, MAGA. Yeah, it seems totally plausible. And
right.
I said, perhaps we should wait and see all the facts because it seems a little far-fetched. And the dude said, he just had no compassion and human caring. And I said, okay, I've got a humanitarian service medal. I left my family for a year to literally go to a different country that I had never been to help foreigners I had never met.
Yeah.
Okay? I've literally done these things. You are a performance artist in Brooklyn.
Well,
okay?
that's important.
I think I have literally shown significant compassion and empathy in my life. What have you done? Well, you just don't have empathy or caring. You're just a bad person. It doesn't. When facts don't matter,
no,
then you can't reason. What do you have left to resolve disputes when you have said we're not going to use reason?
You can't.
I know what it is. I saw it in those places where I was helping people.
Militant normals. That's what we need to be. We're the normals. We need to be as militant as they are, essentially. There's somebody in chat, Dave Milner, he says, hey, ask Kurt this, if you would. Ask Kurt how he feels about people on the right who want us to just get angry and not really do anything.
Well, that's pretty much a Fredo-Con move. Get really angry. Come on my cruise. Listen to Jay Nordlinger. He'll tell you.
Oh.
You can channel that rage into donations to my think tank, the Liberty Forum, Eagles for Forum, and Family Forum of
right.
Eagles and Liberty. And have you noticed that your anger always seems to involve you giving them money and support?
Oh,
isn't that weird?
Yeah,
and
funny how that works out.
And yet, see, that's the other thing about our elite, and it goes absolutely for the Fredo-Con elite. No, they refuse to be accountable for their track record. You know, if you want to piss these guys off, if you want to get a guy, you know, like a Bill Crystal or a John Podhoretz or one of those other turds angry, just go, or a David Frum, just say, okay, what have you succeeded in doing that you said you would? Shut up, Russian Putin, pal, racist, icky, you know, so-and-so.
Yeah, then you hear
they refuse. When there is no accountability, there's literally no democracy. When there's no democracy, like when there's no reason, that doesn't leave a lot of good ways to resolve disputes that don't involve pummeling someone.
Well, I've always said that there isn't any problem on the planet that can't be solved with one or both of these things, is either a vodka or a throat punch. And when one doesn't work, you use the other. If I could, I'd like to transition over to your newest novel, Wildfire, because it looks like we got about 12 more minutes left. Your new novel, Wildfire, just came out November of last year, and it features your U.S. Army captain protagonist dude, Kelly Turnbull. And the premise of your Kelly Turnbull novels, you've got 3 of them, is this. The U.S. has been fractured into essentially 3 regions, and it distills down to the blue and the red. And the blue guys control the left coast. The blue also controls the northeast and over into kind of sort of the Great Lakes region, and the red controls everybody else. And you wrote your first fiction book, People's Republic, about this in 2016. Your next book, Indian Country, in 2017. And if you would, give us a little insight about what's happening in your newest book, Wildfire, with Kelly Turnbull. And I find that there's something in there that's just a tad bit ironic considering the circumstances, you know, like motorist Rodney King said, can't we just all get along?
Well, look, the story is the blue states are falling apart, a la Venezuela, as we've seen before us, because that's the model they embrace. And our hero has to go back in, and this time he's got to work within their security service to find an outside, to stop an outside threat that actually threatens the United States, which is the red area. They kept them in. People's Republic changed it. And, he gets paired up with someone who was essentially grew up in a politically correct country that was largely like a college campus, except with, secret police. And they have adventure. They go to Europe, and you get to see a little about what's happening in our parts of the world. There's a lot of action, but I think there's a lot of humor, and it's just kind of a wild ride. People like it. It's got really good reviews over at Amazon. I was actually looking at some of the most recent ones when you call by surprise. And I've actually started the 4th novel. I plan to have that out by June. I plan to do 2 this year.
Yeah, I don't think I'm bigfooting anything if I tell people that that's going to be called Crisis, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the title, and it's going to take place as the People's Republic really starts to fall apart because socialism collapses. And the red states, who have, basically they've blocked themselves off from each other and developed separately, has got to decide what it's going to do. And of course, Kelly Turnbull is going to be right in the middle of it. But I think it's going to have a wider extent. I think you're going to meet some new characters. I think it's going to be a little more ambitious. I've tried to do something different with each book. And if you look at People's Republic, that is a straight men on the mission book. Kelly Turnbull goes in to do a mission, does the mission. That's the book.
Right.
And you see lots of things along the way. In Indian Country, it really expands it as he goes and embeds in a community in the blue states, and essentially is there to make them ungovernable, supposedly, essentially non-violently, except when the repression starts, they have no choice but to ramp it up. And you have former American citizens, digging up the old hunting rifles, and it's an exploration of what happens when an armed citizenry is met by a modern military. Because I'm always, you guys in your Second Amendment guns, you can't do anything. They'll drone you, okay? And they do drone people in Indian country. How do you deal with drones? What is the weak point of a tank? How do you take out a tank? Here's the thing: you take out the fuel truck. These are not secrets, by the way.
No.
This is basic guerrilla warfare 101, and and of course I don't write anything that I refuse to talk about explosives.
Right.
I talk about anything that you can glean from a careful reading of the history of, say, the Viet Cong or the Taliban or the American Revolution.
Well, hell,
how do guerrillas fight counter an insurgent force?
We've already got a representative in California named Eric Swalwell who has already said that, hey, if the militant normals decide to get out of place, we're the ones with the nukes. The intimation being that if you get out of place too much, there's no problem that he has with dropping a nuke on your butt.
Well, when you throw that out as a potential, as a reason why, they'd be able to oppress you, it seems like you're counting that in. He's like, well, I wasn't saying that. Well, then why bring it up?
Yes, exactly.
I mean, if it ain't an option, why did you treat it as a trump card? If it ain't in the deck, you're one to throw it down. The simple fact, I always ask Swalwell this question because I've gone back and forth on Twitter, and I ask, great, you want to take essentially disarm the United States? How many people are you willing to kill to do that? Because some people whenever you have police going around doing stuff, and whenever you have very, very angry people, you have the chance for people to get killed. And we saw that at Waco. Remember, Waco was about a raid because they allegedly had forbidden guns. Ruby Ridge they were trying to grab that guy because he had, what they called illegal guns. Okay, so those had dead people, dead kids, dead women. How many are you willing to accept to get the disarmed utopia you talk about? Is it 1? Is it 100? Is it 1,000? Now their counter will be, well, thousands are being killed now. Okay, well, I am willing to accept the reality that some people will kill themselves. 2/3 of the deaths from guns are from suicide. That they will choose guns instead of pills or jumping off a roof or something. I'm willing to accept that. I'm willing to accept the fact that criminals who will have guns one way or the other are killing each other. I'm willing to accept about the 550 people who accidentally die from gunshot wounds a year. Just like I'm willing to accept about the 30,000 people who are killed in auto accidents. Adults understand that all activities bear risk.
Yes,
exactly. And I'm willing to accept those risks. What risk are you guys willing to accept and create? Because you're creating it by creating a environment where guns are being confiscated in violation of the Constitution and centuries of tradition and common law. You are creating a situation. How many people are you willing to see die because of that? Includes police, people caught in the crossfire, people resisting in some way, where that's misguided or not is a completely different issue. They're still dead. My number is 0. I would not want anyone to die to confiscate guns. It is not worth a single life in my view. Not of a policeman, not of a citizen, not of an innocent bystander. None. 0. That is my number. Mr. Swalwell, what is your number?
And, of course, that was from your article.
Nukes, it's got a lot of zeros.
He proffered no answer to that. Because why would he?
He didn't because, again, he doesn't want to say it. But there's a number. he and his friends are willing to accept. And it's probably a surprisingly high number because they somehow believe that the militant normals who make up our majority of our military are going to kill other militant normals at the behest of a bunch of San Francisco liberals, something I find a far-fetched notion. I'll tell you, if I got called back to active duty and told go attack American citizens for keeping guns, I would not follow that order. It would be an unlawful order. I would not do it. I could not do it. You're not allowed to follow an unlawful order. And I think a significant portion of our military would act in the same way.
The reason I think that all of your novels, your Kelly Turnbull novels, are so important is that they're a sad reflection of what could happen today.
Yes.
And it's turning out where initially you may have thought back in 2016, because that's when Donald John Trump was being the bull in the china shop. But folks, the reason you need to read Kurt Schlichter's books, his novels, People's Republic, Indian Country, and Wildfire, is because they ring true. And it's sad to say, I cannot tell you for an unequivocal fact that this isn't in the future of America. I wish I could tell you with certainty that this is not the future of America, but I myself cannot.
You know, it's funny. I have a lot of the things as Kelly Turnbull facing, these weird social justice tropes where they're, the blue states are always getting into like arguments whether they're being too patriarchal with each other, and it's a giant cluster a lot of the time. But a lot of it's funny, and you may laugh. For instance, in the police in the FBI headquarters, they have a picture of, or the old FBI, they have a statue of J. Edgar Hoover in a cocktail dress as a pioneer in transgender identity, and you laugh at that. But I'm constantly getting messages from people going, I was laughing at your thing, and then this happened, which is like what's in your book. And I find myself going, well, how can I take it one step farther? Because I want to keep it ahead. I'm not doing a documentary. I've got to be a little ahead of things, and it keeps catching up with me, man.
Which, fiction can be fiction. It's like humor. For example, humor is funny because it has an element of truth in it.
It has to have truth,
or it wouldn't be funny.
It's not funny.
These
if it is, it's funny because it's true.
These books
you recognize it. It's silly.
Yes, these books have an element of truth to them that really, if you can laugh at some of the things that are inside them and read the exploits of Kelly Turnbull at the same time, these books and how they're crafted, they should be a little bit disturbing to people.
Well, you read the Amazon things, and there are a couple reviews in there going, I keep reading that these are funny. I didn't laugh, which kind of makes me sad because the books are not supposed to be a death march. You're supposed to enjoy yourself, but they're like, no, I was scared. It struck me as too real, and I guess that's a good review.
Well, people in chat are saying these days it's tough to do dystopian novels because we're living in a dystopia right now.
Which is bizarre because we have never been more wealthier, healthier. We should be, if we turned around and embraced the freedoms that our founders talked about, and that are now extended to everybody in our society, right? It's not a matter of, rich white landowners.
Right.
It's everybody. This should be the greatest time in human history. You know that grinding poverty, the real deadly poverty that, people just living in the third world, just miserable, used to be, like 75% of mankind 40 years ago. It's now like 10%.
Well, you're a poor person if you have a 1991 Lexus.
Well, and that's actually the United States. I'm even talking around the entire world. The poverty is going away. Diseases that used to mutilate and cause this untold suffering are going away. The only thing and yet we're making ourselves miserable by going back and embracing the pathologies of socialism and collectivism and getting rid of our heritage of freedom, and basically waving away our heritage of freedom. And we're doing it to ourselves. That's remarkable. Just imagine if we had all the great things that are going on. America is now self-sufficient in oil, for instance.
Yes.
And if we just went back and embraced basic freedoms, which when you do that, you're embracing reason as a way to resolve arguments, and that leads to civility and respect for each other and actual true diversity, which is not being a jerk to anybody who wears a MAGA hat or whatever.
Yeah.
And just imagine if we did that. What kind of, really, you want a utopia? I'll give you a utopia. Do what the founders say. And you've got one. Today, an Israeli company said in 2 years, we are going to be able to have a drug cocktail that will cure cancer.
Yep, exactly. How shocking is that? How incredible is that?
And they always have, all these medical things have breakthroughs. But one day, that's going to happen, and maybe it's happening now. And what do we have to complain about? All we have to do is embrace freedom, and it all comes together. And then, once you do that, you're naturally more inclined to do other positive things. Embrace religion, embrace a sense of community, embrace charity and helping other people, not in a way where the government's twisting your arm, but where it used to be, where communities would come together to help people who were out of luck, not out of motivation, to get back on their feet. That's all we have to do. It's so simple. It's right there.
No.
The answers are all right there. The utopia they want is right there. If we only took it.
Utopia. Oh, my God. Kurt Schlichter, tell us where you can be found on social media, and tell us where, if people want to read your column, where they can find you there, too.
You want to find my columns every Monday and Thursday at Town Hall. I do a Rebel video rant of about 5 minutes on YouTube, or you go to the Rebel every Tuesday and Friday. And my one today is about Starbucks chairman Howard Schultz. And I have a little Starbucks cup, and it's funny and fast. So check that out.
Howard Schultz, isn't that interesting? Perhaps in the future of Ross Perotting leftists everywhere.
Yeah, he may well be the Perot. That's a real interesting thing.
That'll be very interesting.
We go on that for a while. I think he thinks he's grande, but he's going to end up vente. And of course, you can find me on Twitter at Kurt Schlichter.
Folks, we were talking to Kurt Schlichter for the entire first hour. A man
Except when I went off to go to the bathroom.
That's right, okay. Well, that was only 30 seconds, so that wasn't bad at all. So
didn't have far to go.
That's better yet. Thank you, Kurt Schlichter, for so kindly for being here tonight and the Saloon, and you are always welcome back. So God bless,
anytime
sir.
You want me.
Take care, and be safe, sir, and have a great night.
Adios. Thanks a lot. Adios, everybody.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. That was Kurt Schlichter, and you are listening to the Bloviating Zeppelins Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. I appreciate your listening. When we come back, we're going to have some happy stories. We're going to have more instances of fake news and a couple of very interesting articles. One of them is the article that I referenced earlier, which just came out today by Kurt Schlichter. So thanks for listening. Don't go anywhere.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On SHRmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. SHRmedia.com. Be there.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the first hour of the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show in the beautiful SHR Media Studios, where I am broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California. Like to make it broadcasting from Radio Free Idaho, but unfortunately that's not to be. Thanks again to Kurt Schlichter for the donation of a full hour. He normally gives interviews maybe 5 minutes or so, maybe 10 minutes at the very most. He'll co-host the radio show with Hugh Hewitt, and yes, that shock jock Hugh Hewitt. If you know anything about Hugh Hewitt, he is about the farthest from a shock jock that anybody could possibly imagine. I wish I could tell you that I had a host of happy stories these days. I do not. I have a few. Some of them are a little long in the tooth. I will go to them because some of them need to be mentioned. Unfortunately, these days, there's been a lot of negative stuff that's been coming out. I attempt to do whatever I can to buttress the positive, and I have found some things. So the show is fluctuous. It can change on a whim, on a dime. It can turn. It can go one way. It can go another. One story that I wanted to bring now for over 2 weeks is about California and how it has, as far as it's concerned, almost but not quite yet reached nirvana. I'll explain that to you in just a moment. But what I did do is I promised that I would read the newest Kurt Schlichter commentary from townhall.com. And I didn't go into it because I had a pretty good idea that I would be reading it right now. And the article is from today. It's called What Will It Take to Make You Understand and Accept That They Hate You? And you can use this to extrapolate what you're going to be reading if you buy the book Militant Normals, because I'm sorry, that's what I am. I am a militant normal. This was not a choice for me, but this is a choice that I will actively make. Because the more the left pushes, the more I am inclined to push back. And at my elderly age, my advanced age, I am in my 7th decade, I am not inclined to suffer fools as I did, in my 20s, let's say. I used to call that in patrol, I used to call that my BSTL. And my BSTL has dropped dramatically in the past decade or so. And for those of you who don't know, the BSTL is my bullshit tolerance level. Let's go to the Kurt Schlichter article. You need to die because of your smile. That's the position of our enemies. And we know it because they told us openly, proudly, in the garbage public forum that is Twitter and elsewhere. Oh, they backtracked a little when the extent of their killing fantasies got exposed, scampering like their insect analogy, the roach, when someone flips on the kitchen light. But that kid in D.C. with the frigid airborne reefer ranger banging that drum in his baffled mug, they wanted that kid to die for having a wrong smile. Stop right there. As Sackhead Sean said last Wednesday, read 1984. That's a face crime. Now, go to your, quick like a bunny, to your favorite search engine and enter face crime 1984. And you'll see exactly what this kid is guilty of. He is guilty of a 1984 face crime. End of BZ editorial. Cue the excuse chorus. That's nonsense. We just wanted to pummel that kid and then destroy him, his family, and all his classmates. Don't look behind the curtain at the wood chipper comments and bomb threats, you cis-normative monsters. Think of what they would do with real power. Except that that kid was you and me. If they'll ice a kid for not having the right grin, they'll waste you or me in a heartbeat. Murder is, after all, how leftists roll. The USSR, Red China, Cambodia, North Korea, Cuba, that cadaver-strewn litany teaches what's lurking at the bottom of the slope we're gliding down. The Dems are spooning with socialism, and the goal of socialism is written in blood on the pages of history. The unapproved must be liquidated, and they are making no secret that you are unapproved. Understand that and accept that. I know it's hard. It goes against everything you've been taught to believe, to acknowledge that a significant and influential group of other Americans, not that they identify that way, want you dead or enslaved. But they do. The Fredo-cons will scoff. Now you know what those are. But the conserva-quizzling collaborators' actions speak louder than their weasel words. They're currying favor with the enemy, betting that their abject groveling and supine submission will mean that they get the chop last. You better get your head in the game, or you'll find your head in a guillotine. Definitely figuratively, maybe even literally. You want to reject this reality, to dismiss it, to wave it off as crazy talk? But listen to what they say. Watch what they do. Have the strength to accept the harsh truth that is punching you right in the face. They hate you for not submitting, for being an obstacle to their rule. The problem is that you're nice, and you project your niceness. Projection is human nature, so while leftist spittle-spewing sociopaths project their own shriveled morality when they shriek about how we're all racist fascists of fascist racism, when racist fascism is actually their jam, we normals tend to project our decency when we assume that our opponents are just confused friends who are in the throes of a grievous misunderstanding about us that we can remedy with facts and evidence. You heard that audio cut. I'm going to play it again in a moment or two. Kurt Schlichter writes, that's 100% wrong. Facts and evidence don't matter because the trial is already over and you've already been condemned because of who you are. You can't ever clear yourself with the left because they don't hate you for what you did or what you will do, but just for who you are. That's where the babble about white privilege comes in. If you're white and conservative, you're wrong. And if you're not white and conservative, you're even wronger. It's not about race or gender or orientation. It's about power. They want to take yours to strip you of your sovereignty and make you kneel. Their social justice warrior posturing is all a lie, and it's a scam. They don't care about ending racism or sexism or homophobia or any of the other myriad other isms and obias that they blather on about. Those poses are just weapons to be used to capture what they really want. Total power over you. Let me read that again. Those poses are just weapons to be used to capture what they really want. Total power over you. They seek to shame you into submission, and if that won't work, then they'll do whatever it takes. Do you think the Democrats of yesterday spent a lot of time weighing the evidence before lynching black men? Those Democrats murdered black men for two reasons: because they wanted to send a message to other black men about the price of resistance, and because they enjoyed doing it. When the Democrats of today were on Twitter mobbing those children from Kentucky for daring not to submit, couldn't you sense the hideous joy they felt screeching for the heads of those kids? Their souls are empty of morality and religion, and nature abhors a vacuum, so they filled that vacancy with pagan bloodlust. Orwell wrote about the daily 2-minute hate. And how is this any different? How is it any different? These unlovable losers have nothing else in their lives. No connection with anything. So they find meaning by joining together with other misfit psychopaths, so they can lose themselves in a frenzy of hatred, where they get to play the role of righteous avengers. Think of what they would do with real power. And understand, they might get it. The Democrat Party is not just listening to them, it's being transformed by them. Name the prominent Democrat politician who stood up and said, "This Covington kid crucifixion is wrong." Yeah, cue the tumbleweeds, cue the crickets. Not one senior Democrat said that this was wrong. In fact, the big names joined in. Chief Big Lizzie tweeted about how these designated monsters from Kentucky with their MAGA hats and audacity to march in support of their political beliefs had disrespected a Vietnam War veteran. Even as this is written, and even after garbage outlets like the garbage Washington Post have had to confess their credulous reporting of Dick Blumenthal's Saigon battle buddies' garbage lies, Senator 1/1024's demonstrably false Twitter smoke signal is still up. Think of what they would do with real power. Do you think that a leftist Supreme Court majority won't construe the First Amendment to exclude protection for hate speech, by which I mean any thoughts you might wish to express that they object to? Do you think they won't turn the federal bureaucracy, including law enforcement, against their political enemies 1,000 times harder than before, having been rewarded for the last decade of doing so? Do you think they won't start tossing dissenters into prison? They do in England. You can go to jail for a tweet there. Let me repeat that. I know Dave Milner knows this for a fact. You can go to jail for a tweet in England. And do you think the left thinks that's a bad thing? Or a creative European innovation that needs to be imported? How about that Second Amendment? Are you kidding? The idea that our citizenry maintains their ultimate veto over tyranny drives them bonkers. Do you think they won't use violence to make you conform? Hell, Democrat presidential candidate, as I mentioned earlier, to Kurt Schlichter, Eric Swalwell, he's willing to nuke you for not giving up your guns. We know that because he said so. It's time to stop pretending that people who hate our guts don't actually hate our guts, and that given the chance they won't exactly act like people who hate our guts would act. The time to stop them is now, while we still can peacefully, before they quit tweeting about killing and start doing it beyond the occasional Bernie bro at a ball field. We need to purge the weak hearts and Fred O'Cons from positions of authority in our movement and be all in for victory in 2020. In the meantime, we need to aggressively push our campaign to remake the courts. And it sure wouldn't hurt to follow the founders' advice to exercise our Second Amendment rights to reinforce the deterrent to tyranny that is an armed citizenry. Just remember to smile as you fight to keep your freedom, because that shows them that they don't get to win. That's the newest article by Kurt Schlichter. You can find him, like he said, Monday and Thursdays is when he publishes, at townhall.com. And that's why I started reading Kurt Schlichter here. And also why I like to have him on the show. What I was going to do, but I ran out of time. And I thought, this might be an interesting thing to read right now. For those of you who are watching on the SHR Media YouTube channel or the SHR Media Facebook page, here's the Kurt Schlichter book. This one, his new book just came out, Wildfire by Kurt Schlichter. It's a Kelly Turnbull novel. And what I was going to do is show Kurt and illustrate to him with his own words how absolutely prescient he is with regard to certain situations. And let me see if I can go to the right page here. In his novel, and I hope I'm not bigfooting too much, there's an attempted association between Islam and the People's Republic of Germany. And in this particular scene, a member of the People's Republic of Germany is meeting with a member of Islam, and it starts off this way, and you'll understand what I'm saying when you hear it. Herr Alfredi, always good to see you. Frank Spetters reached out, took his glass and drank a long swig, then put it back on the table, the better to show who was boss. Do you enjoy bringing me to a place like this? Hamid asked. Your dirty beer hall? Do you think it's wise to insult me, Herr Spetters? I think it wise for you to realize whose country you're in. And Hamid laughed. I know whose country I am in, Herr Spetters, and I think you do too. Do you have children? Anything like a smile vanished from the chief's face. Come, Herr Spetters, children, do you have any? You don't, do you? I have 9 sons who will carry on my struggle. Who will carry on yours? Herr Spetters replied, Don't overestimate your position, Herr Alfredi. There are still more of us than there are of you. And he said, True, but the difference is that we don't fear you because you know and we know how far we can push you. You love your peace and your quiet, and you love your vacations to Mykonos, and you love your pornography and your pills, but you won't fight for them if we don't push you too far. Not even those revanchists out in the countryside that you cannot control. They only fight when we go to them. You Germans fear us. That's why I'm here. You fear me and mine and wish to continue our trace, our Hadna. Spetters knew that Arabic word, a truce, one intended to last just long enough for the jihadi to prepare to retake the offensive. Careful, he said, you may be surprised what Germans are capable of. And he replied, I would be surprised, Herr Spetters, very surprised. You Germans, you believe in nothing. No God, no future, Nothing but right now and your next beer to deaden your pain. So yes, I would be very surprised if you found the strength, the will to resist. Enough of this, he said. As you wish, Herr Spetters. Hamid smiled. That book is full of revelations just like that. Imagine that. Imagine that. California has almost reached nirvana. Have you heard about this? How wonderful it is for the people in California. How wonderful it is for the people that are in control in California. They're close. They've almost reached nirvana. They're close. Just not exactly there yet. Nirvana in Sacramento, where the Bill Mill lives, the veritable belly of the beast, as I call it, what I call the locus of evil on the entire West Coast and perhaps the entire nation. You've heard me say that a bunch of times. I'll let you be the judge of whether it is or not. Nirvana is when you have such control in the Capitol building that you've got a lock on the Democrat politicians in perpetuity. Republicans don't even factor. With one extra little tidbit, I'll get back to that at the end. And Democrats in California are close. They're damned close. So close, they can sense the scent of nirvana itself. It's already wafting around the corridors during the day. At night, however, the demonic evil truly emerges, and you can only smell brimstone and sulfur, just like I've told you. Democrats have already obtained what is called a supermajority in the Capitol building since November 8th. Now, this is from the San Francisco Chronicle.com. And if you would theorize that it's a leftist newspaper, you'd be absolutely correct. The headline on this: California Democrats regain supermajority in legislature nearly a week after the midterm elections. The news keeps getting worse for California Republicans. Conversely, that means it gets a lot better for the Democrats. Democrats claimed victory Monday in 2 state Senate races, giving them back the 2/3 supermajority they lost in June when Orange County Democrat Josh Newman was recalled after he voted in favor of Governor Jerry Brown's gas tax increase. Just a little bit of a hint. I'm thinking there might be another California recall coming. Not going to tip the hat just yet. Not going to tip that. I'm going to wait and to see how it's going to develop. My wife happened to turn me on to this, as a matter of fact. I sense that down in Southern California there may possibly be another recall in the offing in California. Shocking as it may be. Republican leads also continued to slip in a pair of hotly contested Orange County congressional races. The victories give Democrats all 28 seats in the 40-member Senate, one more than they needed for a supermajority. They already hold a 2/3 advantage in the Assembly, enabling them to pass, listen to this, it's California, enabling them to pass virtually any legislation without Republican help. That's in California. And if you think this shit isn't coming to your state, well, I'd advise you to wake up, because it's already here. I'll tell you what, I think I'm going to break a little bit early, because I want to go back to this story. Because if you think that a supermajority, it really can't get any worse, right? It can't get any worse, except for the fact that, well, yeah, apparently it can get a little worse. Yeah. Come on.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, The Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
New show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern. Only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's the final 25 minutes of the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here from the SHR Media Studios. It's the last call for alcohol tonight in the saloon. First hour, I want to thank again the gracious Kurt Schlichter for being here. We talked about his 2 new books. He's got a nonfiction book out called Militant Normals, and then his second book, nonfiction, called Wildfire, about his protagonist, U.S. Army Captain Kelly Turnbull, and about how the United States have basically turned all blue or all red. And I can think that you can imagine where that is going. I was just finishing up an article, or starting, I should say, an article about California having reached nirvana. And I'm going to continue on this bent for a while because there, well, as you know, as I am fond of saying, but wait, there's more. Why stop at some piddling little supermajority? Why not make it a full-blown mega majority? with a three-quarter packing of Democrats. And this is from Breitbart.com. California Democrats near three-fourths mega majority in state legislature. California lawmakers will begin their new legislative session Monday with Democrats holding a three-fourths majority in the state assembly and one vote less than three-fourths in the state Senate, the biggest Democratic majority since 1883. The Associated Press notes. The AP adds that Democrats will have 29 of the 40 state Senate seats, two more than two-thirds supermajority they need to raise taxes, suspend legislative rules, and override vetoes without Republican votes, basically without any Republican votes necessary. And they will hold a three-quarters majority in the Assembly, 60 of the 80 votes. Undaunted by political scandals and epidemic of sexual misconduct and habitual tax hikes, Democrats have what some pundits are calling a mega majority, more powerful than an ordinary veto-proof supermajority. So how possibly did this happen? Well, the AP says that changing demographics and attitudes toward President Donald Trump. But another key factor was a change in the state's voting laws in 2016. Imagine that. That allowed something called ballot harvesting. Have you heard about ballot harvesting? I'm going to tell you about that. That's the mass delivery of mail-in ballots by third parties, often Democrat Party operatives. No. Now, this is a new term, is it not? Okay. Ballot harvesting. What the hell is that?
Today, this is Headlines with a Voice.
Ballot harvesting.
As the polls closed on Election Day last month, 6 California Republican House candidates, including Representatives Dana Rohrabacher, Steve Knight, and Mimi Walters, were ahead in their respective races. However, as the absentee and provisional ballots rolled in over the intervening weeks, all 6 lost to their Democratic opponents.
Imagine that.
The case of Korean-American GOP candidate Young Kim was one of the most prominent examples. On election night, Kim held an 8,000-vote lead over her Democratic opponent, Gil Cisneros, and even attended freshman orientation in Washington, D.C., before watching her lead and her victory slowly evaporate over the subsequent weeks. The result—
That is, subsequent weeks after holding the election. You do get that, don't you?
Results drew the attention of House Speaker Paul Ryan. "California justifies logic to me," said Ryan at a Washington Post live event. "We were only down 26 seats the night of the election, and 3 weeks later we lost basically every California contested race. This election system they have, I can't begin to understand what ballot harvesting is."
I'm going to tell you.
Well, Paul, I'm going to explain it to you, so listen up. The stunning turnaround in California of all states can be attributed to several factors, as conservative critics like the Federalist's Bree Payton wrote, but the most significant of those seem to be the practice of ballot harvesting. Passed as a barely noticed change in the state's vote-by-mail procedures in 2016, and signed by then-Governor Jerry Brown,
passed in the dead of night. Passed in the dead of night in California. Passed in the dead of night in California.
California's AB 1921 allows voters to give any third party, not just a relative or someone living in the same household as was previously the law, to collect and turn in anyone else's completed ballot. Called ballot harvesting, critics say that the practice is ripe for fraud. Consider Lulu, who was recorded trying to harvest what she thought was a Democratic voter's ballot in Representative Knight's district. "It's a new service," said Lulu, "for, like, people who are supporting the Democratic Party."
Right.
The San Francisco Chronicle reported that 250,000 such ballots were used in Orange County alone, resulting in a Democratic sweep there. The Chronicle went on to quote Republicans who admitted that Democrats clearly beat them at the new game, and that to compete, they'll have to conduct their own ballot harvesting efforts. Before its passage, a group opposed to the bill wrote, AB 1921 would allow anybody to walk into an elections office and hand over truckloads of vote-by-mail envelopes with ballots inside.
Yes.
No questions asked, no verified records kept. It amounts to an open invitation to large-scale vote buying, voter coercion, granny farming, and automated forgery. AB 1921 solves no problems that a simple stamp can't solve. Narrator's note. Actually, it does. It solves the problem of losing for Democrats. With AB 1921, that problem is solved.
Exactly. So that's what ballot harvesting is. And guess what? It's coming to a state near you. This is from townhall.com. Ballot harvesting, California Dems' latest election stealing tool. In 2016, California took another significant step in its decades-long quest to become the world's largest banana republic when then-Governor Jerry Brown signed AB 1921, a barely noticed revision to the state's vote-by-mail procedures. The change was small, but it was significantly huge. California, in its infinite wisdom, decided to make the practice of ballot harvesting legal. Why should you, this is me weighing in, why should you have to waste a stamp when you can have somebody with some motivation come to your door and volunteer to take your ballot in? Oh, if you don't happen to be corresponding to the philosophy of the person who's volunteered to show up on your steps and take your ballot, well, it just might find its way to a dumpster on the way. Funny how that works out. The story continues. The change was a small but significant one. Any third party can do it, including activist groups, Democratic operatives, or street corner panhandlers. You see how this goes? Only the most trustworthy can be entrusted with your vote, with your most important vote. Figuring out new and creative ways to steal elections behind their specialty, well, it is their specialty and all. Democrats knew what they were doing, and even a few conservatives saw this bill's consequences coming from a mile away. Imagine that. And it gets better. If you liked that, you'll like this. AB 1921 would allow anybody to walk into an elections office and hand over truckloads of vote-by-mail ballots, envelopes with ballots inside. Nobody asking any questions, no verified records kept whatsoever. A group opposed to the bill said before the passage, it amounts to an open invitation to fraud. Lots of fraud. So, folks, I got to ask you this. Why worry about cheating when you can write cheating directly into a state bill and approve it with your, wait for it, mega majority? Now do you see how that dovetails? And so when the polls closed on Election Day, no less than 6 California Republican House candidates, including the people we mentioned earlier, Dana Rohrabacher, Steve Knight, and Mimi Walters, they all went down in flames. And again, imagine that. This is very interesting. This is from the San Francisco Chronicle. This is the San Francisco Chronicle, as you would guess by the location, is a hard left newspaper in the Bay Area. The San Francisco Chronicle wrote about this. "We beat Republicans on the ground, fair and square," said Katie Merrill, a Democratic consultant deeply involved in November elections. Many of the field plans included ballot harvesting as an option to deliver voters or their ballots to the polls. Those efforts involved identifying voters who might support Democratic candidates and ignoring those who wouldn't. Let me repeat this. It's in black and white from the San Francisco Chronicle, and it's a direct quote. Those efforts involved identifying voters who might support Democratic candidates and ignoring those who wouldn't. What's a little fraud between friends? In one Orange County household, for example, both the husband and wife were longtime Republicans. Let's see, where am I? Said Dale Niegebauer, a veteran Republican consultant. Democratic volunteers came by their house 4 times, each time asking to speak only with their 18-year-old daughter, a no-party preference voter, and asking if she wanted them to pick up her signed and completed ballot. That is a perfect example of the thorough and disciplined ground game the Democrats used, said Merrill. This is, again, another quote. This is in black and white for everyone to read and know, which is why I tell it to you now. Let California be the perfect example of the festering petri jar it is, to know that this shit is coming for you. It's coming for your state. Don't be silly, stupid, or fattening. If you don't think it's coming for your state, it's coming for your state. This is a quote. We were not wasting time talking to people who weren't going to vote for Democrats, she said. This is the quote again. We weren't wasting time talking to people who weren't going to vote for Democrats. Of course not. Why would they? Legislative Democrats have rewritten election rules in their favor to expand voter eligibility, automatically register every voter, eliminate voting integrity laws, and encourage questionable campaign tactics like that ballot harvesting. California has entered an era of near universal suffrage with illegal immigrants, with felons, with inmates and minors registering to vote. San Francisco now allows people in the country illegally and other non-citizens the right to vote in a local election. That's right, illegals can vote in San Francisco elections. Huzzah, huzzah. According to the Associated Press, the city has spent at least $310,000 in tax dollars to register 49 non-citizens to vote. Your San Francisco, your city and county of San Francisco tax dollars, $310,000 of your tax dollars in San Francisco were spent to register 49 non-citizens to vote. So, hey, harvesting in California, anybody? I referenced total California Nirvana earlier. Total Nirvana would involve keeping the Bill Mill mega majority and harvesting illegals for votes. Don't think that that's not a work in progress. Ask yourself, hey, why did the caravans and those to come, why did they choose to come to the border of California instead of the bulk of the other states? I know this is kind of getting into the weeds a little bit, maybe a bit too much inside baseball, but I take the risk because, you know, like we all know, whatever little seed of disrepute or corruption stems from California, as I indicate and emphasize, has a tendency to wend its way over into other leftist states who think, wow, gosh, that California, what a great model. Let's start doing what they're doing. As my mother-in-law said, let's see, this would be back in 2007, just before she passed away from pancreatic cancer. I remember she said, you know what, sometimes people and entities exist only as examples of what not to do in life. While I'm on that, oh God, I boxed myself into a corner once again. Okay, so I have this massive article. You know what? Screw it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to save the next article for either Sackheads or the Chat Show tomorrow night. I'm actually going to keep a nice article for the Chat Show or the Sackheads, because I promised you this twice now, and I'm going to try to get to the bulk of these, because these are from an article called 68 Media Mistakes in the Trump Era, the Definitive List. We, the media, have fact-checked President Trump like we've fact-checked no other human being on the planet, and he's certainly given us plenty to write about. That's probably, by the way, this is from Cheryl Attkisson. She herself has been the subject of government abuse, of her digging into stuff they had no idea and no lawful way to get into. That's a story for another day. That's probably why it's so easy to find lists enumerating and examining his mistakes, his missteps, and his, quote, lies. But as self-appointed arbiters of truth, we, meaning the reporters, she writes, largely excused our own unprecedented string of fact-challenging reporting. The truth is, formerly well-respected top news organizations are making repeat, unforced errors in numbers that were unheard of just a couple of years ago. Our repeat mistakes involve declaring that Trump's claims are lies when they are a matter of opinion or when the truth between conflicting sources is actually unknowable. Taking Trump's statements and events out of context, reporting second-hand accounts against Trump without attribution as if they're established fact, relying on untruthful conflicted sources, and presenting reporter opinions in news stories without labeling them as opinions. What's worse, we defend ourselves by trying to convince the public that our mistakes are actually a virtue because we sometimes correct them. Or we blame Trump for why we're getting so much wrong. It's a little bit like a police officer taking somebody to jail for DUI, then driving home drunk himself. He may be correct to arrest the suspect, but he should certainly know better than to commit the same violation. So since nobody else has compiled an updated extensive list of this kind, here we go. 68 notable mistakes and missteps in major media reporting on Donald Trump. Number 1, August 2016 to November 2016. The New York Post published modeling pictures of Trump's wife Melania and reported they were taken in 1995. Various news outlets relied on that date to imply that Melania, an immigrant, had violated her visa status, but the media got the date wrong. Politico was among the news agencies that later issued a photo date correction. Number 2, October 1st, 2016. The New York Times and other media widely suggested or implied that Trump had not paid income taxes for 18 years. Later tax returns leaked to MSNBC ultimately showed that Trump actually paid a higher rate than Democrats Bernie Sanders and President Obama. Number 3, October 18th, 2018. In a Washington Post piece not labeled opinion or analysis, Stuart Rothenberg reported that Trump's path to an electoral college victory was non-existent. Number 4, November 4th, 2016. USA Today misstated Melania Trump's arrival date from Slovenia amidst a flurry of reporting that questioned her immigration status from the mid-1990s. Number 5, November 9th, 2016, early on election night, the Detroit Free Press called the state of Michigan for Hillary Clinton. Trump actually won Michigan. Number 6, January 20th, 2017, CNN claimed Nancy Sinatra was not happy at her father's song being used at Trump's inauguration. Sinatra responded, "That's not true. I never said that. Why do you lie, CNN? Actually, I'm wishing him the best." Number 7, January 20th, 2017, Zeke Miller of Time reported that President Trump had removed the bust statue. You remember this one? The bust statue of civil rights leader Martin Luther King from the Oval Office. The news went viral. It was a lying piece of crap. Number 8, January 26, 2017. Josh Rogan of The Washington Post reported that the State Department's entire senior administrative team had resigned in protest to Trump. A number of media outlets ranging from politically left to right, including liberal-leaning Vox, stated the claim was misleading or wrong. Number 9, January 28, 2017, CNBC's John Harwood reported the Justice Department had no input on Trump's immigration executive order. After a colleague contradicted Harwood's report, he amended it to reflect the Justice Department lawyers reportedly had reviewed Trump's order. Number 10, January 31st, 2017, CNN's Jeff Zaloni reported the White House set up Twitter accounts for 2 judges to try to keep Trump's selection for Supreme Court secret. Zaloni later corrected his report to state that the Twitter accounts had not been set up by the White House. Number 11, February 2nd, 2017, TMZ reported Trump changed the name of Black History Month to African American History Month, implying the change was untoward or racist. In fact, Presidents Obama, George W. Bush, and Bill Clinton had all previously called Black History Month African American History Month. Number 12, February 2nd, 2017, AP reported that Trump had threatened the president of Mexico with invasion to get rid of bad hombres. Numerous publications followed suit. The White House said it wasn't true, and the Washington Post removed the AP info that could not be independently confirmed. Number 13, February 4th, 2017, Josh Rogan of the... Are you beginning to see a little bit of a pattern here? Josh Rogan of the Washington Post reported on Inside the White House Cabinet House battle over Trump's immigration order, only to have the article updated repeatedly to note that one of the reported meetings had not actually occurred, that a conference call had not happened as described, and that actions attributed to Trump were actually taken by his chief of staff. Number 14, February 14th, 2017, New York Times reporters Michael Schmidt, Mark Mazzetti, and Mike Apuzzo reported that supposed contacts between Trump campaign staff and, quote, senior Russian intelligence officials had occurred. Comey later testified in the main the article was not true. Number 15, February 22nd, 2017, ProPublica's Raymond Bonner reported CIA official Gina Haspel, Trump's later pick for CIA director, was in charge of a secret CIA prison where Islamic extremist terrorist Abu Zabudayeh had was waterboarded 83 times in 1 month, and that she mocked the prisoner's suffering. More than a year later, ProPublica retracted the claim, stating that Neither of these assertions is correct. Haspel did not take charge of the base until after the interrogation of Zubayah ended. Number 16, April 5th, 2017, an article bylined by the New York Times graphic editors Karen Urish and Troy Griggs referred to Trump's daughter Ivanka as Trump's wife. Number 17, May 10th, 2017. Multiple outlets, including Politico, the New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN, AP, Reuters, and the Wall Street Journal, reported the same leaked information that Trump fired FBI Director James Comey shortly after Comey requested additional resources to investigate Russian interference in the election. The New York Times' Matthew Rosenberg and Matt Capuzzo, same guy again, the CNN Sarah Murray, reported the information in sentences and paragraphs that omitted attribution, as if they were an established fact. The Washington Post's Philip Rucker, Ashley Parker, Sari Horowitz, and Robert Costa wrote news articles in the style of opinion pieces and from an omniscient viewpoint, as they were somehow in the mind of Trump. For example, they reported, quote, every time FBI Director James B. Comey appears in public, an ever-watchful President Trump grew increasingly agitated that the topic was one of the most desperate to avoid: Russia. Other reporters, Reuters' Dustin Volz and Susan Cornwell, did properly attribute the claim. The Justice Department Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein and Acting FBI Director Andrew McCabe said the media reports were untrue, and McCabe added that the FBI's Russian investigation was adequately resourced. Number 18, May 22nd, 2018, the BBC's James Landale, the Guardian, and other reporters and others said that Trump wasn't bothering to listen to the translation during a speech in Italy by Italy's prime minister. They drew that conclusion without asking the White House and based on a video that showed other political leaders wearing large headphones. The Guardian even claimed Trump was fake listening, smiling and nodding. After the report circulated, the White House stated that, as always, Trump was indeed wearing an earpiece in his right ear. Number 19, June 4th, 2017, NBC News reported in a tweet that Russian President Vladimir Putin told TV host Megyn Kelly that he had compromising information about Trump. Actually, Putin said the opposite, that he did not have any compromising information on Trump. Number 20, June 6, 2017, CNN's Gloria Borger, Eric Lichtbald, James Tapper, and Brian Rokas, and ABC's Justin Fishel and Jonathan Karl reported that Comey was going to refute Donald Trump's claim that Comey told Trump 3 times he was not under investigation. Instead, Comey did the opposite and confirmed Trump's claim. Number 21, June 7th, 2017. In a fact-check story, AB reported erroneously that Trump misread the potential cost to a family with insurance under the Affordable Care Act who wanted care from their existing doctor. Number 22, June 8th, 2017. The New York Times' Jonathan Weissman reported that Comey testified Trump Attorney General Jeff Sessions told Comey not to call the Russian probe an investigation but a matter. Weissman was mistaken about the Attorney General and the probe. Actually, it was Obama Attorney General Loretta Lynch, not Sessions, who told Comey to refer to the Hillary Clinton classified email probe, not the Russia probe, as a matter instead of an investigation. Number 23, June 22nd, 2017, CNN's Thomas Frank reported that Congress was investigating a, quote, Russian investment fund with ties to Trump officials. The report was later retracted. Frank and 2 other CNN employees resigned in that fallout. Number 24, December 2nd, 2017, ABC News' Brian Ross reported that the former Trump official Lieutenant General Michael Flynn was going to testify that candidate Trump had directed him to contact, quote, the Russians. Even though such contact would not be in and of itself a violation of law, the news was treated as an explosive indictment of Trump in the Russia collusion narrative, and the stock market fell on the news. Remember that? I'm sure you do. ABC later corrected the report to reflect that Trump had already been elected when he reportedly asked Flynn to contact the Russians about working together to fight ISIS and other issues. Ross was suspended. ABC News, Brian Ross, suspended. Number 25. July 6, 2017, Newsweek's Chris Riotta and others reported that Poland's First Lady had refused to shake Trump's hand. Newsweek's later update reflected that the First Lady had shaken Trump's hand after all, as is clearly seen on the full video. If only you'd looked at it. Number 26, July 6, 2017. The New York Times' Maggie Halberman, CNN, and numerous outlets had long reported as if fact the Hillary Clinton claimed that a total of 17 American intelligence agencies concluded that Trump orchestrated election year attacks to help Trump get elected. Only 3 or 4 agencies, not 17, had officially done so. Fake news, lie. Number 27, August 31st, 2017, NBC News' Ken Delinian and Carol Lee reported that a Trump official's notes about a meeting with a Russian lawyer included the word donation, as if there were discussions about suspicious campaign contributions. NBC later corrected the report to reflect the word donation didn't appear, but still claimed the word donor did. Later, Politico reported that the word donor wasn't in the notes either. Number 28, September 5th, 2017. CNN's Chris Cillizza and other news outlets declared Trump lied when he stated that Trump Tower had been wiretapped, although there's no way any reporter independently knew the truth of the matter, only what intel officials claimed. It later turned out there were numerous wiretaps involving Trump Tower, including a meeting of Trump officials with a foreign dignitary. At least 2 Trump associates who had offices in or frequented Trump Tower were also wiretapped. Remember that Trump said that he was wiretapped? Turns out he was true. Number 29, September 7th, 2017, the New York Times' Maggie Haberman reported Democrat leader, Representative Nancy Pelosi called President Trump about an immigration issue. Trump actually made the call to Pelosi. That's a lie. Number 30, November 6th, 2017. I'm getting there, folks. I'm almost halfway done. Imagine that. We're going into overtime, because I'm getting through this damn story, because I told you I was going to do it here tonight. Number 30, November 6, 2017. CNN's Daniel Shane edited excerpts from a Trump event to make it seem as though Trump didn't realize Japan builds cars in the United States. However, Trump's entire statement made clear that he does. It's a lie. Number 31, November 6, 2017. CNN edited video that made it appear as though Trump impatiently dumped a box of fish food into the water while feeding fish at Japan's palace. The New York Daily News, The Guardian, and others wrote stories implying Trump was gauche and impetuous. The full video showed that Trump had simply followed the lead of Japan's prime minister. Number 32, November 29th, 2017. Newsweek's Chris Riota claimed Ivanka Trump plagiarized one of her own speeches. In fact, plagiarizing one's own work is impossible, since plagiarism is when a writer steals someone else's work and passes it off as their own. That's a lie. Number 33, December 4th, 2017, the New York Times' Michael Schmidt and Sharon Lafreniere and other outlets reported the Trump Deputy National Security Advisor K.T. McFarland supposedly contradicted herself or lied about another official's contacts with Russians. The story was repeatedly amended. CNN, MSNBC, CBS News, New York Daily News, and Daily Beast picked up on the story about McFarland's, quote, lies. Number 34, December 4th, 2017. ABC News' Trish Turner and Jack Date reported the former Trump campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, had recently worked with a Russian intelligence-connected official, but the Russian wasn't an official. Lie. Number 35, December 5th, 2017, Bloomberg Steve Aarons in the Wall Street Journal, Jenny Strasberg reported the blockbuster that special counsel Robert Mueller had subpoenaed Trump's bank records, except it wasn't true. Number 36, December 8th, 2017, CNN's Manu Raju and Jeremy Herb reported that Donald Trump Jr. conspired with WikiLeaks in advance of the publication of damaging Democrat Party and Clinton campaign emails. Many of the other publications followed suit. They had the date wrong. WikiLeaks and Trump Jr. were in contact after the emails were published. That's a lie. Number 37, January 3rd, 2018. Well, we're over into 2018. Nice. Talking Point Memo's Sam Thielman reported that a Russia social media company provided documents to the Senate about communications with a Trump official. The story was later corrected to say the reporter actually had no idea how the Senate received the documents and had no idea to suggest the Russian company was cooperating with the probe. That's a lie. Number 38, January 12, 2018. Mediaites Lawrence Bonk, CNN Sophie Tatum, The Guardian, BBC, U.S. News, and World Report, Reuters, and BuzzFeed's Adolfo Flores reported a bombshell, that President Trump had backed down from his famous demand for a wall along the entire southern border. However, Trump said the very same thing in February 2016 on MSNBC, on December 2nd, 2015 in the National Journal, in October 2015 during the CNBC Republican primary debate, and on August 20th, 2015 on Fox Business News with Maria. Number 39, January 15, 2018, AP's Laura Kelman and Jonathan Drew reported that a new report showed trust in the media had fallen during the Trump presidency, but the report that AP cited was actually over a year old and was conducted while Obama was president. Number 40, February 2nd, 2018, AP's Eric Tucker, Mary Claire Jelonic, and Chad Day reported that ex-British spy Christopher Steele's opposition research against Trump was initially funded by a conservative publication, the Washington Free Beacon. Stop. Do you remember that? I do. I remember when the Washington Free Beacon was accused of this. Well, except that AP corrected its story because Steele only came on the project after Democrats began funding it. That's a lie. Number 41, March 8th, 2018, the New York Times' Jan Rosen reported on a hypothetical family whose tax bill would rise nearly $4,000 under Trump's tax plan. It turns out the calculations were off. The couple's taxes would actually go down $43, not up $4,000. Number 42, March 13, 2018, the New York Times' Adam Goldman, NBC's Noreen O'Donnell, and AP's Deb Reichman reported that Trump's pick for CIA Director Gina Haspel had waterboarded a particular Islamic extremist terrorist dozens of times at a secret prison and that she had mocked his suffering. In fact, Haspel wasn't assigned to the prison until after the detainee left. ProPublica originally reported the incorrect details way back in February 2017. Remember when I just told you about that? Number 43, March 15, 2018, AP's Michael B. Secker, Jake Pearson, and Jeff Horwitz reported that a Trump Advisory Board official had been a Miss America contestant and had killed a black rhino. She actually was a Miss America contestant and had shot a non-lethal tranquilizer dart at a white rhino. Number 44, April 1st, 2018, AP's Nicholas Riccardi reported that the Trump administration had ended a program to admit foreign entrepreneurs. Well, that wasn't true. Number 45. April 30th, 2018, AP reported that the NRA had banned guns during Trump and Pence speeches at the NRA's annual meeting. Except that AP later corrected the information because the ban had been put in place by the Secret Service. Number 46, May 3rd, 2018, NBC's Tom Winter reported the government had wiretapped Trump's personal attorney, Michael Cohen. NBC later corrected the story after 3 senior U.S. officials said there was no wiretap. Number 47, May 7th, 2018, CNBC's Kevin Bruniger reported that Trump's personal lawyer, Cohen, paid $1 million in fines related to unauthorized cars in his taxi business, had been barred from managing taxi medallions, and had transferred $60 million offshore to avoid paying debts, and is awaiting trial on charges of failing to pay millions in taxes. A later correction stated that none of that was true. Number 48, May 16th, 2018. The New York Times' Julie Hirschfeld Davis, AP, CNN's Oliver Darcy, and others excerpted a Trump comment as he had referred to immigrants or illegal immigrants generally as animals. Most outlets corrected their reports later to note that Trump had specifically referred to members of the murderous gang MS-13. Number 49, May 28, 2018. I'm getting there. I'm getting close. The New York Times Magazine editor-in-chief Jake Silverman and CNN's Hottest Gold shared a story with photos of immigrant children in cages as if they were new photos taken under the Trump administration. Oopsie, the article and photos were actually taken in 2014 under the Obama administration. That's a lie. It's a lie. Number 50. May 29, 2018, the New York Times' Julie Davis reported the estimated size of a Trump rally to be 1,000 people. Oh, actually, there were 5,500 people or more in attendance. That's a lie. Number 51, June 1st, 2018. In a story about Trump tariffs, AP reported the dollar value of Virginia's farm and forestry exports to Canada and Mexico was $800. Well, it's $800 million. Number 52, June 21st, 2018, Time Magazine and others used a photo of a crying Honduran child to illustrate. Do you remember this? Time Magazine and others use a photo of a crying Honduran child to illustrate a supposed Trump administration policy separating illegal immigrant parents and children. The child's father later reported that agents had never separated her from her mother. The mother had taken her to the U.S. without his knowledge and separated herself from her other children, whom she left behind. It's a lie. It's a lie. Number 53, June 22nd, 2018, MSNBC personality mistakenly stated that Trump had banned the Red Cross from visiting children separated from illegal immigrant parents. That's a lie. Number 54, June 28th, 2018, after a newspaper room shooting. A newspaper reporter falsely tweeted that the shooter dropped his Trump Make America Great Again hat on the newsroom floor before opening fire. That was a lie. Number 55, July 10th, 2018. NBC reporter Lee Ann Caldwell reported that outgoing Supreme Court Justice Kennedy only retired after months of negotiations with Trump that concluded with Trump agreeing to replace Kennedy with Judge Kavanaugh. Number 56, July 16, 2018. Washington Post reporters imply Trump doesn't understand NATO countries. In fact, Trump met with the Finnish president at the NATO summit. Further, Finland is a NATO partner, not just a member. Number 57, September 14, 2018, the New York Times issues a major correction to an original unfair article about U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley. Number 58. Tuesday, September 18, 2018, the New York Times falsely reports that a man, Mark Judge, testified he remembered an incident more than 30 years ago in which Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh is accused of assault. Judge actually said the opposite. He does not remember such an incident and that the allegations are absolutely nuts. The Times corrected its article in an editor's note. Number 59, September 23, 2018. Multiple news outlets report that Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein has resigned or been fired. Neither turns out to be true. Axios and others eventually update and clarify their erroneous reports. Number 60. We're almost there. Hang on. Number 60, October 14, 2018. NBC News falsely reports that President Trump praised Confederate General Robert E. Lee. Actually, Trump had praised the Union General Ulysses S. Grant. That's a lie. Number 61, November 14, 2018, CNN's Jeff Zeleny reports that President Trump has decided to fire a deputy national security advisor upon the First Lady's demand. The Wall Street Journal reports the advisor had been, quote, escorted out of the White House. Later, it's reported that neither case was true. This did not happen. She's still here at the White House. A senior official told the press the advisor was reassigned to another job. Number 62, December 24, 2018. It's discovered that nearly everything written by a Der Spiegel reporter who had been honored by CNN, of course, about a supposedly racist Trump stronghold town was fabricated. Like much of his other work. Number 63, December 26, 2018. NBC reports that Trump was the first president since 2002. Remember this? Oh, you're going to remember this. This went everywhere. NBC reports that Trump was the first president since 2002 not to visit the troops at Christmas time. But he and First Lady Melania did. NBC added a note to its story but left the false headline in place. Number 64, CBS News claimed in June of 2018 that Trump spokesman Sarah Huckabee Sanders would retire by the end of the year. She didn't. As of today, there's been no correction or editor's note at all, period. Number 65, January 9th, 2019. The New York Times issues a correction to a report that falsely stated former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort asked for campaign polling to be given to a Russian oligarch, Oleg Deripaska, who has ties to Russia, President Putin. Instead, the Times now claims Manafort actually asked his associate Rick Gates to give polling data to Ukrainian oligarchs, not Deripaska. While working at Politico, one of the New York Times reporters, Ken Vogel, got caught sending drafts of stories to Democratic officials. Another co-author, Maggie Haberman, was considered a, quote, friendly by Clinton campaign officials who turned to her when she worked at Politico. Quote, we had her tee up stories for us before and have never been disappointed. We can do the most shaping by going to Maggie, wrote Clinton officials in emails. Imagine that. Number 66, January 11th, 2019. Not far away. Fox TV affiliate in Seattle, Washington airs fake doctored video of President Trump that altered his face and made it appear as though he'd stuck his tongue in and out while giving an Oval Office address. Politicians are often fact-challenged, but for us in the media, our whole business is in facts, and the media has played it way too fast and way too loose for its own sake. Number 67, The BuzzFeed exclusive with anonymous sources implicating Trump in potentially criminal behavior that Democrats and pundits said would be the nail in Trump's impeachment coffin. Oh, it's refuted in a rare rebuke from special counsel Robert Mueller's office. Today, BuzzFeed still stands by its reporting. And BuzzFeed is, by the way, bleeding reporters. Number 68. The New York Times and Washington Post are among the publications that issue corrections after falsely reporting that an anti-Trump activist had served in the Vietnam War. Nathan Phillips, an Indian activist involved in the whole Covington Catholic high school fiasco on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. Additionally, multiple news employees, including a CNN employee, apologized for mischaracterizing as the aggressors Trump-supporting teenagers at a pro-life rally. And what happened after that? Well, imagine this. Some deleted their social media, and even more astounding, some even went so far as to apologize for getting it wrong. But as you would expect, some doubled down, and they stand today still with their false story.
Monsieur has been lost.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. If you want to contact me, you can find me on Twitter at BZEP, at BZEP. On my blog at bloviatingzeppelin.net, I haven't been very active there since January. And, you can find me at Bloviating Zeppelin on Facebook. My original intro music is by Possessed Tranquility. You can find them at ReverbNation.com. Promotional consideration, of course, is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works and the Boeing Company. If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. Also by Pratt & Whitney Engines Thrust. You can trust. My tiaras are by My Little Pony. I want to give massive thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team with whom I shall be consorting in less than an hour. And I want to thank Kurt Schlichter for being here the entire first hour. Thank you for being in chat. Thanks for listening in podcast. I appreciate each and every one of you for taking the time out of your busy day or night to do so. God bless, take care, and be safe. Tomorrow night, I will be here with either the Sackheads or the Shat Show. Be here. Aloha.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night.
Good night, Jim Bob. Go to sleep.
Good night, and good luck.